Hey everyone, happy Sunday. And yeah, we are live. And it's been, I was checking when was the last time Viking Samurai spoke in person. And it's been 7 months, bro. 7 months since you came here. And we talk about your favorite Van Damme movie, which I'm not going to say, I remember which one it is, but I'm not going to say it. And then we spoke about my favorite Van Damme movie, which it kind of goes back and forth between two. And today, our main topic is going to be Arnold Schwarzenegger's movies, mainly which one is the Viking Samurai's favorite movie of
Mhm.
Arnold Schwarzenegger. And but it's going to be open. I mean, I was telling the Viking Samurai, we don't have like an agenda on the subject other than his favorite Arnold Schwarzenegger movie and things that I want to ask him, like this upcoming movie that he is part of, the last committee. And then anybody watching live, feel free to join us in the chat, either with a comment or a question for the Viking Samurai about his favorite movie, his experience on the last committee, anything appropriate, of course.
Of course. Yeah,
How
it's
you
got to be
doing,
appropriate,
Viking
man.
Samurai?
Hey, good. Thanks for having me back. I can't believe it's been 7 months because it's just like time flies. It doesn't feel like that long. I mean, it feels like a little bit time ago, but I would have never guessed 7 months. Like if you asked, I'd been like maybe 4 months or something, right?
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. I was thinking more like 4 or 5,
Mm,
like tops. And then I look on YouTube and it says it streamed 7 months ago. I'm like, whoa,
wow.
that's
Wow.
that's more than I thought. But how you doing, bro? I mean, I've been following you obviously on YouTube and also on Instagram, and I saw all of your posts. Traveling to Germany and all these things, working out late. Well, I know there's a time difference between here and Germany, but I was here like going to bed, and you were like working out or what. I'm like, what time is over there in
They
Germany?
were late workouts, man, because we'll talk more about the last Kumite a little bit later, but just a few things. So they were long days, like 12-hour days, right? And they were fun. They were great, but I would still obviously need to get the workout in. So sometimes I'd be in the gym at like 1 o'clock in the morning. So I got really lucky that I found a 24-hour gym in Germany. It's a really popular chain called McFit. And
Uh-huh.
apparently they're like in a couple other places in Europe. So doing the last Kumite, I was kind of like really in 3 different locations. Like the first location was kind of near Dusseldorf. And I found one of those gyms that were like, a 20-minute walk, which is like the perfect warm up, just getting over to the gym. And I just paid for like a month guest pass. It was like 25 euros. I was like, perfect. This covers me the whole time I'm there. And
Yeah.
then we went to Hamburg, and it was even more convenient because literally the McFit was like literally connected to the hotel. So right after shooting, it's just like, well, damn, now I got like a 3-minute walk, right? Which was perfect. And then later on, we went to Bochum, Germany, and the gym was like 20 minutes away. So, they're a big chain throughout Germany, and all the different locations I was in,
Uh-huh.
I found a gym nearby, the McFit, gym. So it was great, man.
Sweet. Yeah. I mean, you're used to work out at nighttime, even here in the States, right? I think.
Like
Kind.
I try to leave the house at like 5 or 6, but sometimes I'll even get there later and I'm there till the gym closes. Like the gym that I go to usually closes at like 10 o'clock. So I might go from like 7 to 10. But that 3 hour workout, it's stretching, it's weightlifting, it's martial art drills. So I'm not like I don't lift weights for 3 hours, nor do I really recommend anybody do those kind of workouts. I think Arnold probably did back in the 70s, but he
Yeah.
wouldn't even tell you to work out purely with weights that long anymore. Those guys were doing like 5 or 6 hours a day. Most professional bodybuilders now probably do between 1 hour and 2 hours at the most.
Uh-huh. So for how long do you stretch? Like close to an hour, 30 minutes, something like
Like
that.
30 minutes usually.
All right.
So yeah, if you guys follow or check out my Instagram, Real Viking Samurai, you'll see I do like a lot of balance drills. So usually it's like just the stretching by itself might be 30 minutes, but then I might be doing some strengthening and balance stuff, some leg holds, little things like that, maybe some slow kicks. And then, like, again, this is if I get my full workout in, I'll be there 3 hours. So I might do like an hour of martial art drills. That also counts as kind of like my cardio as well, right? And then
Yeah.
usually like an hour of weights. So that's how it's structured. Now, of course, everybody is busy, has their own schedule. Like I can't even get my full 3-hour workout in all the time either. but I could usually get enough in everything I need to like condense down to 2 hours.
All right. Yeah. That's, I think, yeah, I think my record is probably hour and a half, maybe 2 hours or something like that. Pre-COVID.
Yeah, yeah. Didn't you actually compete or something? I thought I seen a picture of you like on stage.
Yeah, I did it. I done it one time. It was 2009. It
Okay.
was the OCB.
What
So
is that? What is OCB?
starts for Organization of Competitive Bodybuilding. It's like natural bodybuilding.
Oh, that's good. That's cool.
And yeah, I did it in 2009, close by, and I looked my best first time ever competing,
Mhm.
but I didn't do well. My legs, they were not like like contest shape. You know, they were kind of smooth.
Oh, you did? Yeah, okay. You didn't have the definition and
Yeah,
everything in the legs.
and
Okay.
so I didn't place the top five,
Mhm.
unfortunately. But I looked my best ever, so that's kind of the silver lining. But
Sure.
and then I was like, okay, I want to do it again, but next time I want to do the men's physique because
Okay.
years later that
You
organization.
cover your legs with those board shorts. You don't need the leg definition.
But no, but and then I was like, maybe I give it a shot to the men's physique,
Mhm.
and because it was new in that organization years later, but I
Sure.
never did, and I still haven't done it. So I'm just getting old, and I haven't competed. I don't know if I ever will. I don't know, but it's been like I said, what 2009. So it's been a while.
Yeah, it's been a little bit, man. I wouldn't say you're getting old though, because we're probably similar in age, I would guess. I don't think we both look pretty young. Um, so I think like especially like natural bodybuilders and natural lifters probably peak in their 40s. You
Hmm.
know, they're gonna look their best. So you're definitely not too old.
Yeah, yeah. Now, well, now what I do need is the desire to do it because
Mhm.
I had it for after the competition. I had it for a few years, and then it kind of lost. I mean, I haven't lost the desire to work out, but I mean like
To
to
step on stage and actually compete, sure, you
step.
know, and it's so subjective too. You know, like, yes, sometimes it's very obvious if somebody looks better or worse, but a lot of it's just like what the judges are thinking. You know, are they going to give more priority to somebody's back or their legs or their arms or just their
Yeah,
overall package? Like, you never know. It's very subjective.
yeah, that too. And I was thinking, like, I was like, well, next time I'm gonna hire a coach.
Mhm.
That's what I wanted to. And I mean, obviously, there are like different prices or whatever to hire a coach, a
Yeah,
contest
sure.
prep coach. But maybe, I mean, there's a few natural coaches that I know, but I just haven't taken the time to, you know.
Yeah, regardless of if you ever go back on stage or anybody in the competitive sphere, it's like you at the end of the day, you're always competing against yourself, and that's the most important thing because you want to be a better version of yourself, and that's really who you want to compete against, not necessarily other guys on that stage. You, if you do go the competitive route, so yeah, that's how I look at it.
Yeah, no, yeah, that's right. I just wanted like a little trophy, and only the top five get a trophy. So I got no trophy, and I was like,
Yeah,
man.
it looked cool in your background if you had that trophy, man.
Yeah, I remember
So
they were kind of big, but you know,
yeah,
bummer.
speaking of guys competing, let's talk about Arnold, right? He dominated back then, but
Oh
I
yeah.
want to know, and I know you want to know mine, but I want to know your favorite Arnold movie and why.
Oh yeah, yeah. That's easy, easy peasy. um, Actually, back in January, I was like, you know what? I'm gonna do a video, YouTube video about my favorite Schwarzenegger movie, and I'm
Mhm.
gonna explain, in my opinion, why that movie is great.
Sure.
So I came up like with 6 or 7 points why that movie is great, and I typed my thoughts on a Google Doc,
Hmm.
and I was like, that was January, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna upload it by March, and it's already July, and I still haven't done.
Did you record it or did you just not upload it?
No, I haven't recorded it yet. So what I'm
Okay.
gonna do, I'm it's gonna be, I'm not gonna be in the video, only my voice.
Yeah, sure.
but those type of videos takes longer, as you know.
They take a long time to edit, man.
Yeah.
A
So
long time to edit.
but it's coming. I mean, I'm gonna try to do it maybe hopefully in the next 4 weeks, because my family is gonna be out of town for 4 weeks.
Okay.
So by the time I get home, it's gonna be quiet, so I can because I wanna put clips in the video,
Oh yeah, of course.
and I wanna put those clips. I wanna record those clips from the TV with my
Mhm,
phone, because
mhm.
I can find those clips on YouTube. So I need the place to be quiet, and with four children is not
A
so
lot of
what.
distractions, a lot of noise in the house, man.
Yeah, exactly. So I want to do it at nighttime when there's no many cars or motorcycles driving by, no children around. So yeah, I'm hoping that the thumbnail has been ready for months.
Well, send it to me later on Instagram. I'll be curious to see it, man.
Yeah, definitely. So the movie is gonna be the title of the video is why Predator is great.
So I guess this live is kind of like a preview of what you're going to do later, because obviously we're talking about the favorite Arnold movie. So Predator's yours.
Predator is mine. Yeah, perhaps is the movie that I have seen the most. Obviously, I don't keep track of how many times I watch a movie,
Yeah,
but
sure.
Predator. I mean, I think I've seen it like I don't know, like since I remember, and even growing up, I would just, it's kind of my go-to movie, I guess.
Mhm.
And I don't mean that like playing it in the background and doing things. No, I mean it like actually put it and just watch.
Get lost in it all over again. Sure.
So yeah, it's Predator. I think that movie is actually one of the points that I wanted to say in the video. Is one of the things that is great is because of the special effects from
Mhm.
from the 80s. Another thing is friendship. It touches about friendship between men.
Yeah, great camaraderie in that movie for sure.
Mhm. Uh, they also show in the movie that it's okay for men to cry,
Mhm.
meaning like Mac when he's missing Blaine, when he's under the moon at nighttime having memories about when they were back in war times, and they were fighting and they got out of it without any scratch and stuff like that.
One thing important to point out about showing men it's okay to cry, and we're talking like hardcore warriors, not
Yes.
like some men today. It's like who cares? They cry, they're just sissies. But like that was cool to see in the '80s. Yeah, hardcore warriors, and it's okay, right?
Yeah, because like I was saying, well, in my notes, um, just on the surface, that movie looks like it's so like bravado, machismo, on the surface, and yeah, I can see that. But if you actually pay attention and watch it and kind of it tells like men of war mercenary, or not mercenaries, but like tough soldiers, like an elite soldier squad, and they still have feelings, the
Sure. Yeah,
friendship.
it makes them more human, man. It's good.
Mhm, and fear too. Even Billy was afraid. His Pancho is like, you ain't afraid of no man, and he's like, uh, we're all gonna die. That's what Billy says, when he replies.
Yeah.
And Billy knows that he's gonna die, and he's scared,
Mhm.
and also like courage, because Billy, towards the end, he knows he's gonna die. He's scared. He said, "I'm scared." He's scared, and at the same time, he's like, you know what? I'm not running away. So he turns around, he gets the machete, and waits for the predator, And dude, that scene, dude, I get like goosebumps. The music goes like elevate that scene, and he's like gets the necklace and wraps on his arm and gets the machete, and he cuts himself, and he's like, "Come here, I'm scared, but come here," like facing his fears. I don't know, dude. It's an awesome movie. I love it.
Yeah, one interesting thing to point out is I guess in a way that really showed Arnold at his most vulnerable, because before that you had Conan, which he's Conan the Barbarian. He's just so much, more powerful than anybody. And then you have Terminator, which I mean he's the Terminator. Come on,
Yeah.
and even Yeah, so that in Commando, for example, I mean, he's Commando. He's way better than all these other guys, you know.
Mhm.
But see, Predator was the one where it's like, well, he's not really this ultra apex alpha. There's like this thing that is so much more powerful than him, you know. And that was like the first time we ever seen him vulnerable because he just doesn't project or portray that because he's larger than life, both physically, right,
Uh-huh.
um, literally, and it was kind of cool to see. Okay, now he's actually got something that's an antagonist that is way more powerful than he is. So we get to see him being vulnerable.
That's a great point. Too bad I didn't get it, but that's your point. But yeah, it is. It is. Yeah, you're right. I didn't see I didn't think about the previous movies he did prior to Predator. And yeah, you're right. You're right. This is the first one we see a little bit more of his humanity, or like you said, more vulnerable.
Yeah, for sure, man, for sure.
So yeah, Predator is the one I like. I showed that movie to my son when he was 5.
Okay, I got him started early.
He likes it, and I don't know. I mean, I like to show him movies that I love growing up when I was a kid. Obviously, I don't think I was 5 when I watched it the first time. I was probably more like maybe 7 or 8, I think.
Mm.
I'm trying
Now,
to-
did your parents let you see it, or did you just kind of watch it secretly at your friend's house or something?
No, no. I think it was on TV.
Oh,
Like,
okay. So you kind of like the edited down, took out some violence version.
I think so. Well, I mean, I remember they would show for the most. I mean, obviously, like it was dubbed because this
Hmm.
was in Mexico, so it was dubbed. And,
Okay.
and now watching it in the original language, some of the words they just were a little sugar coated.
Hmm. Sure, sure.
Like a couple of words, but the violence, I remember the violence being the same. On TV, usually down there, at least back then, what they would edit, it would be anything like any like naked woman or
Okay.
stuff like that. But Predator has nothing of that.
Mm-mm. Yeah. I think there's only one woman in the whole movie, actually.
Yeah, 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 yeah. Just Anna. Yeah, just Anna. She's the only woman.
Yeah.
And well, yeah, dude. I mean, I'm gonna do that video. It's coming.
Yeah, yeah. I look forward to that, man. Look forward to that. But what was very interesting in that era, because I think it's safe to say that the biggest Arnold fans out there are probably our age. They were the kids that watched those movies probably more so than the adults that watched them back then. So the interesting thing is, even though they were rated R, it kind of added to it because as a kid, obviously we all seen those movies when we were under 17, right? You weren't supposed to see them, so it made you want to see them more. And it was that much more special, right? Like nowadays, kids could just see anything. Like you said, you even showed your 5-year-old, but a kid who even just like has access to a cell phone, they can see stuff that they should not be seeing. It's just too accessible. But back then, it's almost like, I know you said it was on TV, but you'd have to like, a lot of times maybe borrow the video cassette and have your parents not even know, for example, if you're watching it, because I remember growing up when Marked for Death was out, Steven Seagal, and my dad watched it because one of his friends like, hey, this movie's awesome, you gotta watch it. My dad wouldn't let me and my brother see it. I just like heard all this gunfire and people dying in the background, like, but I wasn't like allowed to see it. It's like my parents wouldn't really let us see it, but we always found a way. But it wasn't as easily accessible. It was a lot harder. But that kind of made it more special because it's like, you're not really supposed to be seeing this as a kid, but it's
Yeah.
that much more exciting, man.
Now that you mentioned that, I remember one time I was at my aunt's house and they rented uh, somebody rented. I don't think it was me because I was still young, but or maybe I picked the VHS from the video store, but it was Double Impact.
Okay.
And remember that sex scene with Van
Oh,
Damme?
yes. We all remember that.
I mean, it's all in his mind. In the movie, it's all in his mind, right?
Sure, sure.
But and it was a little awkward because my aunt was there, and I was like, we didn't rewind it or forward or whatever. It was a little awkward moment, but
Yeah, that's awkward. That's at least Predator didn't have any scene like that. The violence is fine, but whenever like growing up, I do remember watching movies like, with my mom or dad, and one of those kind of scenes would pop up, and it's they would always just start a conversation, like we're just pretending that's not even taking place until that scene's over, because it is awkward, man. Like
yeah,
nobody wants to see that stuff when their parents are around.
I know. Yeah,
So
there's another one that is like that. Well, this one I think I watched that one later. Inferno, you know, Van Damme. It's always Van Damme, right? In Inferno, remember
Oh,
that?
that had a pretty intense scene with those two blondes, right?
Yes, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
I still haven't shown that movie to my son, but whenever I do, because I will at some point, I'll forward it. That's what I do so far. Like some of these movies, if there's something like that, like I already show him Double Impact. So I just
I would think he would have seen Double Impact, yeah. So you
yeah,
just fast forward that part, like,
for that part, I show him Predator 2
Mm,
only one
yeah.
time.
I
Only
remember
one.
that scene in that one.
Yeah, that's an early scene. You know, with it's not even it's one of those secondary, not even
Yeah, it
secondary.
doesn't have anything to do with really the main characters or anything,
Yep.
but
Uh, Universal Soldier. There is a scene. Well, it's not too bad of a scene. I don't think they show anything.
not really. They only show Van Damme's butt in that, but he's not doing anything with the girl
Yeah,
or anything.
and I don't
So
mind. I don't mind like Van Damme's spot or Arnold Schwarzenegger's spot, like in Terminator. You know, with his
yeah,
naked.
sure. Yeah, that's not nothing.
I mean, he's fine with that. I mean, it's just with women that I don't show or sex. You know,
Yeah,
like
for sure, man. Yeah.
he's 8. You know, he
Yeah,
doesn't.
he doesn't need to see that stuff, man. You don't need to see it with him. But my my favorite Arnold movie, you know, a lot of people will say Predator, and I could see why. Me, it's Commando.
Oh, I
I
love.
think I think that just invokes everything that's so special about the 80s, man. Like if somebody, especially a younger person, that's the movie like I think you should or anybody should show them. They'd be like, hey, what was so special about the 80s and action movies? Because I always hear people talk about just, you know, give them command. Watch this. This explains it all. It's so damn over the top.
Yeah,
It's so fun.
it's
That's
fun.
the one thing I'd say Commando has over Predator. It's funner, right? It's more
Yeah,
lighthearted. There's a lot of comedic elements. It's just fun. It's Arnold literally playing an exaggerated version of himself. Like he always seems like that jokey, good mood, fun guy, but an exaggerated version. And you know, the performance is funny because he obviously was in huge competition with Sylvester Stallone. Now, Stallone was very established. He had the Rambo movies, he had the Rocky movies. Rambo 2 had just come out. And then Arnold at that time, he had done Conan, which was pretty good. And then he'd done Terminator, which was beyond phenomenal. But again, that was very one note. He's just like this killing machine, no emotion, no nothing. Commando really kind of like brought a little more out of there and really showed off his personality in such a good way. And, you know, because he's a larger than life personality playing a larger than life character. And he has so much fun with it. So being in competition with Stallone, they literally had to up the kill count because he's like, I got to outdo him in every way. They even threw in those lines where like, I eat green berets for breakfast, you know, kind of like shade at Rambo and Stallone, you know, it's like, it's like the ultimate guy, man.
Yeah, I see that correlation now. Yeah,
Yeah, for sure, man. And just the way that they open it, it's a fun, simple story. His secret, you know, squad of commandos are just getting killed one by one, you know, very easily. And then we get to him and we know, okay, they're gonna kill this dude so easy, if ever. Of course, we know they're not gonna kill him because he's the main guy in the movie.
yeah.
But just the opening where like he's carrying those logs, he's got his big biceps flexing, you know, and then he's like this super strong guy, but he's also got that sweetheart. He's like eating ice cream with the daughter, you know, they're doing karate together. So when you watch that, you're like, man, I'm sure most of us kids watching that were like, oh man, I wish my dad was that cool. Like doing karate, we're eating ice cream. He's like carrying freaking trees on his shoulder, you know,
They're like feeding like a little
like a
deer.
deer. Yeah. So we know he's like with me, I'm a big animal lover, right? Animal rights activist. So it's like whenever I see that, it's like, I already like this dude. He likes animals too, right?
Yeah, dude. Yeah, I love Commando, dude. This is it's funny because about maybe a year ago, yeah, about a year ago, I was just downstairs. We got one TV downstairs, and so I just like I was feeling like watching a movie, so I played Commando. So I had my two boys. Uh, so one of them, Jean Claude, he was probably 7 by the last year, and he had never seen Commando. And Chance, who is 5 right now, he was 4 last year. So anyway, so I just play. I didn't tell them, hey, watch a movie or whatever. So I just played Commando from the beginning, and I was just there. They were sitting behind me doing their own thing. But then, for whatever reason, dude, they watched the whole movie. And I know the whole movie is like, what, 85, 90 minutes?
Yeah, something like that.
And but even my younger son, I was like kind of keeping my I wasn't saying anything. I was just keeping my eye to see if he was watching. He watched the entire movie, dude, and I was surprised because the attention span, for those kids, they don't for some reason they both watch, especially the younger, they watch the entire Commando movie. I thought it was funny, dude. I thought it was
Mm.
funny, like how they got in a really,
Yeah,
really.
how much they got into it, because kids do have, a lot more ADD than adults, man, just in general. But that's a good point, and something I wanted to point out. Like, Commando is one of those ones where it just has so much rewatch value. Movies like Bloodsport or Rocky IV are the same way, where you could just put them on constant loop because there's always just so much going on all the time. It just moves at such a great pace, right? It just moves at such a great pace. So you could literally just put that on loop and never get bored with it. Yeah, like I said, it's just such a fun movie. The one-liners in there, the score. I always talk about the score. That's got a great score. Just
Mhm.
everything about it. So it's so iconic of the '80s in general. Just how they were just like. I mean, you couldn't have a better guy than Arnold to play that. Like, nobody else could have played that, right?
Mm,
You
Nobody.
don't have that kind of personality now. I mean, I guess if they were to remake Commando, the only two guys that could probably pull it off now would either be Vin Diesel or The Rock, but even they're getting kind of old now too,
Mhm.
you
Yeah,
know.
and I remember. I don't know if Arnold's physique was better in Commando or in Predator, because in Predator we only see him from the waist up, but
Mhm.
in Commando, like towards the end, we see him in those trunks, the when he's getting out of the water. So
Yeah,
so I don't
it
seems bigger in Commando or something. I don't know.
but it's funny that you mentioned that because I literally remember when I believe it was the first time I seen it. Like, I might have been 9 or 10 or whatever, and I was watching it in my living room with shorts on. And I do remember that raft and seeing like
Yeah.
how strong and powerful and ripped and hard like his leg was. And I was literally like looking at my thigh and like, man, I wish my legs could look like that someday. I distinctly remember,
Yeah.
so yeah, and I never thought about like lifting weights or bodybuilding at the time because I was like 9 or 10. So we had a couple concrete weights in the garage, but I was never serious about it until I was like 13, 14 in middle school, right?
Uh-huh.
But I do distinctly remember that. And that scene when he's suiting up, so to speak,
Yeah.
getting the knives and the guns and the grenades and the rocket launcher and the camouflage is like, that's the coolest thing. There's so many movies that have either ripped that off or at least paid homage to it, of just like him suiting up,
Hmm.
which that's the one thing it has over Rambo 2, which I like Rambo 2 more. Rambo 2 is a much different film because it's a lot more serious, right?
Yeah.
But Stallone suiting up before he goes on the airplane in Rambo 2 is really cool. But they did it like better in Commando,
Yeah. Oh yeah, dude. John Matrix. I've been wanting. There is a figure like a 12 inches figure of Arnold Schwarzenegger as John Matrix,
Really?
and I've been wanting that thing for a few years now. I think that one came out before I was into buying toys.
Okay.
So now, obviously, when you miss them, those things they add more value. You know. So anyway, I don't have it yet, even though I want it. But right now, used that figurine is about. I think I saw it pre-owned, but it's still complete and with the box and everything. It's trending about $500.
Wow. Yeah, it's up there on the secondary market. Like, how much when it came out? Like, how much did it cost?
Um, well, nowadays, when they come out around, when they come out, you can. It goes between, depending on the figure, but it goes between 200 and 300 when you add the
Yeah.
tax
Okay.
and the shipping. About between 200 to $300. That's like the
Mhm.
average.
Yeah.
So this
Yeah. There's
one
a
is,
good premium on that used secondary market now for it, man. So they only made like a certain, like, do you know how limited it is? How many they made?
I don't know how many they did of those, how many they made of those, but I always checking, keeping my eye on it, but maybe one day, dude. It
You have
looks.
so many figurines in your background, man.
Yeah, yeah, I do. Well, it's like this size, like a 12 inches.
Yeah, sure.
This is my newest Arnold Schwarzenegger from Terminator 2,
Yeah, okay, nice. That's good.
and but I would love John Matrix right next to him.
Oh, of course, of course. What's your favorite one you got back there?
Oh, that's easy, bro.
Yeah?
It's two of them. Those two over there, Van Damme and Dolph Lundgren as
Mm.
Universal Soldiers. Yeah.
Yeah, that's badass. And you got the picture right next to it,
Oh
right?
yeah, and I got his autograph. It's personalized.
Oh, really?
Yeah, I met him. And I got a picture with him over there. The one in
Oh,
the
like a Comic-Con type thingy?
yeah, yeah.
How long ago?
2019, I believe.
Oh, that's
November,
okay, but pre-COVID. Okay, cool.
November 2019. Yeah, that was the last Comic Con I went to. I haven't been back since pre-COVID. And
Sure.
then the same day I didn't have a picture with him. Hopefully I'll get the picture with him this November. Carl Weathers over there on the
Oh,
picture with
okay. Yeah.
Arnold, black and white. Uh, he sang in as Dylan, and
Sure, man.
and
Yeah, that's another thing that Predator had. I forgot it had Carl Weathers. It almost had Van Damme. Actually, he's still in the movie in a couple scenes, like his
with,
costumes in there. Sure.
yeah, and I didn't Michael or Mohammed Kisi in the interview that he did with you. Didn't he say that when the Predator is in camouflage at the beginning, that's Van Damme, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, the camouflage
They
part.
kept that in there, man.
Yeah, that's awesome. And yeah, and I think I saw here question. Did you see that, you guys? I hope you're doing well. Mike, yeah, doing great, bro. Thank you.
Yeah,
It
doing good, man.
says, what's your favorite movie of 2023 so far? Viking Samurai.
Ooh,
You have
well, you watched like every movie in the theater,
more.
so I want to know what your favorite is, and I'll tell you mine because it's I've only watched literally I could probably count on one hand the movies I haven't seen before, but new movies that came out this year I could count on one hand, man.
Mhm.
I just don't watch a lot. I did watch the new Indiana Jones movie, but what's your favorite that you've seen this year so far?
My favorite. That's also easy because it was my most anticipated movie for the last 2 years, and
Really?
it was being postponed every time because COVID and all these things. John Wick 4.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I mean, that was fun. Everybody I talked to kind of look. John Wick's great, but everybody I talked to kind of has the same consensus. They could have easily cut about half hour of the action out, and it would have just been a little more streamlined. Everybody loves the movie, but it's like
A little long.
it becomes a little ridiculous and repetitive, and it's just like it's too much. Sometimes less is more. But with John Wick, I don't necessarily want less, and I don't think less would be more. But I think enough would be enough. You could condense it down a little bit, I think. But yeah, fun movie overall.
Oh yeah, yeah. I when it's July, so I still got. I know Mission Impossible 7 Part 1 comes out this week.
That's gonna be good, man.
I
Tom
think.
Cruise still holding it down, man.
Are you planning on watching it?
That one I'll probably have to see. So the movies I actually, you know what? I think I gotta think. I may have only seen two movies in the theater this year, and it was John Wick 4,
Mm-hmm.
and it was the Indiana Jones and the Dial of Destiny.
Oh yeah. I watched.
You've seen that, right?
Yes, I saw it one time. However, I have only seen. I haven't seen the trilogy. Never.
What, what do you mean?
I never seen the first three. Yeah,
Indiana Jones movies?
yeah. I never seen those. The
That
first
doesn't even make sense to me, dude. You're like cinematic tendency. Like, what are you talking about, man? What do you mean you never seen the Indiana Jones? These aren't like obscure movies. These were like some of the biggest movies ever in the
No, I know,
80s.
I know that they were by Steven Spielberg, who I think he's the greatest director, and I do believe he's the greatest director. Even though I do not love any of his movies, I believe he's the greatest director ever. No, I mean I've been aware of those movies since I was a kid. I've been aware. I just haven't seen them.
Wow, that's
the,
amazing, man.
the, the
I
only
remember watching Indiana Jones and the Last Crusade in the movie theater. So for me to watch Dial of Destiny, like when did that come out? Like in 89, so it's like 99, 09, 19. Almost 25 years later, seeing the same dude, Harrison Ford, as Indiana Jones in the theater. Because I watched The Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, but I didn't see that in the theater.
I
So
watched.
I went from like 1989 just until like a week or two ago and still seeing the same guy. And it's so crazy because like the CGI de-aging effect that they put on, it's like he looks like he's 30, right? And it looks real. It's like, wow, 25 years gone by and this dude looks exactly the same. At least it looked like that in the theater,
Yeah,
for the
yeah.
beginning of the movie. But
Yeah, the only one that I've seen, and I only saw it one time when it was in theaters. It was like the Kingdom Skull or whatever. Yeah,
oh,
that
you've
one.
seen that one? Okay, sure.
I saw that one in theater one time. That was it. I don't remember
Mhm.
much. And then I watched this one, The Dial of Destiny. And like I said, I've been aware. I was in yeah, early middle school when I heard about this Indiana Jones and the trilogy. So I've been aware of his existence. I mean, it's not that I didn't know.
Are
Yeah,
they just not? Were they just not popular movies in Mexico?
no, they were, but I don't know. Back then, I never had posters in my, like of Harrison Ford or anything at home. I
Sure.
had like Van Damme, Schwarzenegger, and Stallone on my notebooks too. I never had Harrison Ford stuff. I don't know.
Like it's funny because Rambo must be so popular in Mexico where I think everybody knows of Rambo, man. And I'll tell you why I think that. Like that very like machismo culture, and they obviously respect guys like that. So whenever I go to Mexico, like on vacation, for example, obviously I diet a little extra, so I look extra good on the beach, right?
Yeah,
But I swear, every time I go there, I always get like a handful of guys, and they're not American tourists, but like literally guys working at the resort or selling you stuff, and they always like call me Rambo. And I'm
all
like,
right.
that's the greatest compliment ever. I mean, obviously he's a very popular character and they respect that in that culture. So it's
Uh-huh.
like, oh, I love, my wife just like thinks that inflates my ego, but it's like, dude, that's the greatest compliment ever. I love being called Rambo on the beach in Mexico.
It is a great compliment. Yeah, so uh, probably I'm gonna watch those movies. I know last year or a year ago, uh one of I don't know if it was the Kingdom, no, not the Kingdom Skull. I don't know if it was that Temple of Doom or Raiders. One of those three. I don't remember which one. It came to the theaters, and
Oh, you gotta get that experience, dude.
but I didn't watch it. I forgot which one it was. It wasn't the first one. It was either the second one or the third one. I don't
Sure.
remember. It was definitely one of those two because it wasn't the first one. So I was like, okay, I never seen these movies. I don't want to start with the second or the third one because that was the only one in theaters. So I didn't
It
watch.
doesn't really matter with Indiana Jones. It's
All
not
right.
like the Star Wars trilogy. Like all of them are like they're the same character, but they're pretty self-contained. Like it
Oh,
doesn't just kind of like because like when you watch Dial of Destiny or Kingdom of the Crystal Skull, it doesn't really matter if which one you would have watched first. It's just like an adventure that
uh-huh.
that he did in that specific movie. It doesn't really matter if like oh well I got to watch Raiders first and then Temple of Doom and then Last Crusade. It really doesn't matter.
Oh, okay. All right. Yeah. I mean, I know. I've been meaning to watch. I'll watch them. I mean, I'm not.
Yeah, sure. No, I'm still just shocked, It's like, really? I mean, I just everybody who like loves movies in general, especially movies from like the 80s, like that's like you saying, "Oh, I never watched Goonies, I never watched E.T." And it's like, dude, where you been living, man?
No. Yeah, those are classic. No, and just for the record, I've seen the Goonies,
Okay, yeah, okay. I mean, come
and I've
on, man.
seen I've seen ET. Oh,
I
you know
hope
what?
so.
During COVID, I think it was November of 2020, either November, October, something like that. The Goonies came to the theater, and I went to watch it in theaters. Even though, I
Wow.
mean, I've seen that one when I was a kid,
Yeah,
but
sure.
I never watched it in theaters until 2020.
Man, I love that theaters do that. Like even that my local theater, I think the chain is called Imagine with an E. and they do bring back like these classic films. I'm just waiting for them to get like Rambo or Bloodsport or something like that. But they're kind of doing more like the Indiana Jones and kind of like the Goonies type movies, which are cool. But I want to see the stuff that we really love, you know.
Um, and it was in 2020. Like I said, it was in the fall of 2020. So not many people were coming because of COVID. So anyway, I was the only one for the Goonies. I was the only person in the theater. Like
Oh,
nobody.
dude, a private screening. That's freaking
Yeah,
awesome, man.
I didn't remove my mask. Nobody was there, and it was a big theater.
Wow, nobody showed up.
Nobody
Jeez.
showed up, and I'm like, that's fine. I removed my mask, and I just watched the. It
That's
was
cool,
cool.
man.
It was pretty
Your own
cool.
private screening.
It was pretty.
Um, hey, go to this dude's next comment, by the way. I want to see what
Oh,
you
yeah,
say on this.
did you see that? What you seen first? Okay, what are you watching first? Barbie or Oppenheimer? They both come on the same day. In two
They
weeks.
both were out like this weekend, right?
No, 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 no. Not this
Oh,
week.
they coming out next weekend?
Not next one. The following.
Oh, okay. Which one are you gonna watch first?
This week is Mission Impossible,
Oh
and then
shit.
the next one is gonna be this one, Barbie or Oppenheimer. I'm gonna watch Oppenheimer. Barbie, I am hoping that is not a musical. I don't think it's a musical.
Oh
It's
yeah.
not. Right? It's
Interesting.
not.
I don't know, man. It could
Oh, I don't
be.
know. I mean, I watched the trailer and I saw like they were dancing but I don't know if that's just one scene. If it's one scene, I can handle it. If it's a musical, I won't watch. I don't watch musicals. But if it's not a musical and it has one scene where they're dancing, maybe I mean that's fine. I'll check it out. But I'm gonna watch Oppenheimer, God willing, the day it comes out.
Nice. Yeah, Christopher Nolan's a genius. Matt Damon's in there. He's an amazing, probably definitely on my list of favorite actors of all time. Definitely, man.
Hmm.
But as far as it's funny that you say that about musicals because I pretty much in general can appreciate and like to watch like every genre of film. I'm just not a musical guy though. Like I can appreciate it for what it is, but like that's literally the absolute last on my list, you know, of like genres. It'd be absolute last with our musicals.
Yeah, and I don't mind when it's animated.
Oh,
Like
you know, it's a little yeah, because the Disney ones always have they semi musicals, sure.
I don't mind that. I think that's fine. But when I see a dude or two dudes like dancing and singing and having a conversation back and forth, I don't know. I don't
Yeah, I
know.
don't think most people who love and appreciate Rambo movies and Arnold movies are really like the same audience that wants to see two dudes singing and dancing, you know, in a
Yeah,
movie.
I mean, I don't mind when there is like musical scenes in a movie. For instance, what's that movie? The one with Lady Gaga and Bradley Cooper.
Oh yeah, that I know what you're talking about.
A Star is Born.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't mind that. Like they're singing, doing a concert. I mean, I
I mean
like,
that matches because that's yeah, exactly.
it's the conversation. Like having a conversation through song.
Yeah, sure.
That's what I don't. And the dancing part. That's why I don't watch a lot of Bollywood also because they also
I was
sing
gonna say that's all about Bollywood, dude. That there's a whole thing.
even the action scenes in Bollywood. So that's why I don't watch Bollywood either.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not really into those either, man. They do some interesting stuff because I know they kind of like they remade like Rambo, right, with that one dude, and then I don't know if they redid Commando, but they kind of redo these like classic action films, right? But then they kind of just do their own thing with them. So yeah.
So I don't know. I mean, other than that, I mean, like I said, oh, another movie that I'm waiting to decide if I'm gonna watch it or not. I'm gonna wait for the trailer to come out. I don't know when it's gonna come out. The new Joker 2.
So did they officially start shooting that? Like, is that
Mhm.
okay? Because I heard about it. I
Yeah.
didn't know they actually shot it though.
I don't know. I don't know if they're shooting right now or not. I don't know if the writer's strike has.
Oh, that could affect it. Sure, that
I have
sucks.
no idea. Well, if they're shooting, maybe the script is done, right?
Mm, maybe.
because I saw pictures of the shooting, and Lady Gaga is in that movie,
Oh wow.
and there were rumors that it was gonna be a musical, but now they said that it's not a musical. So if it's a musical, I don't think I watch, but I hope it's not. But if it's a movie with a musical scene or a music song part or whatever, I watch it. But I hope it's not a musical.
I
Like,
could see them doing like one sequence with the Joker really kind of like playing it up and doing that one sequence, but I can't see several songs throughout the film where they're dancing and singing and talking to. But I could definitely see like maybe one scene that's kind of like, very
yeah,
extravagant like that.
like a fantasy or something that is going on, of
Mhm. Yeah,
party.
that would make sense.
And because I don't even know if Joaquin Phoenix can sing or not. I know he can act.
He could probably learn good enough,
Uh-huh.
like
He's
I think with enough training to pull it off, I'm sure he could,
uh-huh.
right?
Yeah, yeah, because
Yeah.
he's a very good actor.
Oh yeah, he's amazing,
Very,
dude. Yeah,
very.
that first Joker, that was one of the films I seen in theater. Like I'm very selective. I don't go to the theater that often, but that was definitely one of them I seen in the theater a couple years
Mhm.
ago. You know.
Didn't you tell me that the theater that you go to is kind of close by to the house or something?
Well, the one that I go to now has been rebranded as Imagine with an E, and that
Uh-huh.
one's nearby my house. Like there's other ones I go to where they have like those studio I forget what they call studio whatever grill, like a bar, you could get drinks, you could order your food, they take it like movie studio grill or something. Those are really cool to go to, right? You just make a whole date night out of that.
Uh-huh.
But the theater by my house is more of the you get your popcorn. I mean, you could order a pizza, but you're not like pushing a button, having somebody bring you drinks or other, food all throughout the movie.
Do you know if the theater that you go to has those monthly memberships that you save a lot of money?
Oh, see, I don't know, man. They might, but the thing is, like, it's not even that expensive. I mean, I could get a ticket for probably like 12.50,
Mm-hmm.
which isn't bad. I mean, in some areas it's probably like $20. So that's not because I don't go that often. Like,
Oh,
and I'm
okay.
happy to support the theater, so I'll usually if I I'll buy a soda or something,
Yeah,
because they did make all their money with the concession stand, right? So I like to help support the theater, right?
yeah, yeah, definitely, yeah. Oh, so yeah, if you so once, how many times you go to a theater in a month?
Not much, man. Like maybe I will go more, but getting the membership wouldn't really incentivize me too much. I mean,
Uh-huh.
obviously everybody wants to save money, but
Yeah.
I just, I mean, there's just not a ton that would make me want to go. Like I had to watch Indiana Jones because, like I told you, last time I seen him in the theater was like 25 years ago. I had to go, and
Yeah.
I was excited about it, even though people were like, "Yeah, it's probably not that good." I thought it was pretty good.
Yeah.
But and I want to see Mission Impossible. But see, like as much as I want to see Oppenheimer, I don't feel like I have to watch that in the theater. Like I could feel like I'm comfortable watching that on Amazon Prime or something.
Yeah.
It's so another movie I seen. So maybe I've seen 3 movies in the theater this year because obviously I seen Creed 3. So it was Creed
Okay.
3, John Wick 4, and Indiana Jones. So I just don't go that often. There's not like really a movie that gets me too excited.
Uh-huh.
There's only like a handful, and I only go a handful of times.
Uh-huh. I know for the rest of the year, well, Oppenheimer is one of them. Mission Impossible 3 is one of them. There's gonna be the new Scorsese one, Riders of the Moon. What? Something about Moon.
Mm. And that's a great director, but again, that's another one that I don't feel like I need to see in the theater.
Oh, okay, okay, okay.
And things come out pretty quick. It's not like it used to be back in the day where it's like, okay, a movie's in the theater, now you got to wait 9 months for it to come on video. It's like usually it's like a month or two, and you can like just pay for it on Amazon Prime or something.
And now, yeah, after COVID, the theatrical window it got shorter. 'Cause
Oh, sure, big time, man.
it used to be like 12 weeks or so.
Yeah, it used to be a while.
Yeah, now it went down to like almost half, except for Top Gun Maverick. That one lasted forever.
Oh, that now see, that was one that I definitely went to the theater. So in general, I like the movie theater experience, as far as like, it's more of a spectacle, it is exciting in this event. But, and I distinctly remember this from Creed 3,
Mm-hmm.
you get those annoying people talking or joking, having their own conversation. It's just like, dude, we're in a movie. Like, turn your goddamn phone off, or don't talk to this person like you're having a conversation during the whole movie, man. There was a guy like who literally got up. I made some comments too. You know how you kind of turn around, just kind of like, shut
Yeah.
up, type
Yeah.
thing. Because they were so effing loud. There was literally a guy in their row, because there were like a couple of teenage girls just laughing and joking and talking the whole time, kind of like they're in their own world, but it's like, dude, we're in a movie, like a little respect, please. There was a guy who got up and got in their face and was yelling at them, man. And the funny ass thing, and I was clapping. I was like, yeah, that's nice. I like that. I appreciate that, man. But like after the theater, there was another confrontation with that guy in that group of girls. I was like, okay, like, this doesn't need to get where the police starts getting involved. So,
Uh-huh.
and his girlfriend was like trying to like, oh, just cool down, cool down. But I was like sided with that guy. But it's like, look, they're teenage girls, man. You don't like got to go too extreme, right? Where I swear, I almost thought the cops would have had to get involved. It's like that there's a line that, yeah, they were disrespectful and loud, but it's like, these are girls. You can't like get in their face like you're going to beat them up. I mean, come on, you can't go that far.
Yeah. No, but they're annoying. Like they can be annoying, especially like a big group of teenagers. They can get really annoying.
Yes, because it just compounds and amplifies when you get that age group together. It's like, and they're very disrespectful because they want to tell like somebody of authority or somebody older, like an adult, to shut up. And it's just like, dude, what can you do? You can't hit a kid, especially a girl, but even a boy. It's like you can't do anything because you're minors. So it's very frustrating. It's just, your hands are tied. It's just like, what are you gonna do? They're just gonna disrespect you, and you're gonna look, you can't do anything.
Yes,
So
sometimes it's even worse. But no, yeah, but definitely what's it what day was it? Tuesday or Monday, I forgot. Like a few days ago, I went to see Insidious, the Red Door.
oh yeah, sure.
So I asked my daughter, my oldest daughter, she's 14. So right now she's in that age when like she doesn't want to watch animated movies with us, with the rest of the family anymore, because that's for kids.
Yeah, sure.
So a few years ago, we would all go and watch animated movies, and she was fine. But then from 12 to 13, it's like a switch went on.
Mm.
Anyway, she's like, what are you watching? I'm like, Insidious, the Red Door. She's like, that's scary. I'm like, yeah, I think it's supposed to be scary. She's like, okay, I'll go. And all right. So we went, and we got in the lobby, and I saw like a bunch of kids. Like by bunch, I'm talking probably around 15, about a group of 15, 18 in the lobby, like just like talking. And I thought to myself, I'm like, I hope they're not in my theater. And of course, yes, they were.
Of course they were.
Then I look, because I usually don't check the rate of the movie, and I look very quick for Insidious, and it says PG-13. I'm like, oh man,
Oh, jeez, really? Wow.
maybe these kids are gonna be in the same uh, theater, the same movie, and yeah, they were in the same theater, and so we sat on the very first row, and the entire row, it was all of them, because when my daughter and I we sat at the edge on the first row, so I was on the first seat, and then my daughter, and then like 10 or 12 seats empty, right? And then the movie started, and I was telling my daughter, I'm like, nobody's there. I'm like, maybe we can just move towards the middle,
Sure.
even though I was fine because on the first row.
Mhm.
But I'm like, I don't mind if I go more towards the middle. She's like, all right. I'm like, let's just wait like 20 minutes, because now all the seats are assigned.
Yeah, sure.
And then the movie started. Usually the theater plays 20 minutes of trailers.
Mm-hmm.
For this movie, for some reason, the trailers were only like 10 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
So I was like, I don't know. Nobody's there. So I'm like, yeah, we're going to move. And then right before we wanted to move, we saw like a bunch of like kids coming. All of them sat on the first row.
They're basically part of your group now.
And they were a little annoying, not to the point that it was unbearable, like not to see, but it's still not ideal.
Mm.
And then towards the end of the movie, when the movie ended, I noticed that they ripped like the cup holder of the seat. It's a reclinable seat, so they ripped some of the foam. And,
Jeez.
and yeah, like they the manager came later, like towards the end, and they called the police. You know, because you want to like the management wanted to report that thing just to make you know um, the police aware of because it happened before in the bathrooms in I think was the men's bathroom. Some teens they vandalize it, like with the toilet paper all over the
Yeah,
stall.
that sucks, dude. That really sucks, man.
It wasn't the same time, but this was months ago, but
Yeah,
still,
sure.
yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, teenagers can be annoying in large groups.
Yes, in large groups, man. It's just but I'm actually surprised that new Insidious was PG-13. Like, are the other ones PG-13?
I don't remember. I've seen them all,
Mm.
but I usually don't check. That's the thing. Sometimes my wife, I'm like, hey, I want to bring like one of my kids. She's like, what's the rate? I'm like, I don't know.
Mm.
Let me
Yeah.
check. I don't check the rate much. Uh, have you seen that Insidious franchise or some of them?
I mean, I'm aware of them. I don't think I've literally watched one from like beginning to end. I think I've seen little parts of stuff
Yeah,
here and there, like I'm aware of it. Who's the main guy? Is it Patrick Wilson?
Patrick Wilson. Yeah,
Yeah, and I think you said he directed it, right?
yeah. It was his director debut. Yeah, yep.
Which is cool. Like, I like him. He's a good actor, but yeah, just I love horror movies, but I don't really like. Insidious is more like ghosts and stuff, right? Or paranormal type things like that.
Yeah.
Whereas, like, I like slashers for horror movies. I like people getting cut up or having some like Jason type figure or something, just like wrecking people.
Yeah, same. I'm very particular with scary movies, like the Evil Rise that came out like in March. I didn't see it. I didn't want to see it.
Okay. That trailer looked interesting, but I didn't end up seeing. Me and my brother, when it came out, I think I think I was in California actually, because I know my brother wanted to watch it, but we didn't end up going. But it's something that we both kind of wanted to see, but then other stuff came up.
Yeah, yeah. It came out late March, I think.
Okay, yeah, because I think it was already out a little bit. I think I was out there. I was probably out there in May, April or May. I
Uh-huh.
forget. Time goes by so quick, man. It's all a blur.
Isn't that the time when you met Don Wilson?
In person. So I'd met him in person already before that, but that's when I
You were like sparring.
trained with them at the gym. So it was so cool to basically, yeah, it was wild, man. Because like when I lived in California, I didn't know any of these people, but now I always got a great place to stay because my brother lived in Simi Valley,
Mhm.
and even on the last Kumite, I found out Cynthia lives in the next town over. So does Billy Blank. So next time I go there, I'll have to meet up with them in person. Obviously with Don again, because
Uh-huh.
he said, hey, anytime you're out here, we train together, which was such an amazing experience. So me, and like I met up with a couple of other people out there as well. Like Sheldon invited me and my brother to his house. We got like the tour. We went through like the Van Damme archives, of like Lionheart, seeing original storyboards, seeing Sheldon's all like his Polaroids of like location scouting. He's just got like these bins full of stuff, the archives. So it's very cool that because I started the YouTube channel, like I met these people now. Like if I'm in the area, I could meet up and hang out with them, and it's crazy. It's awesome.
Yeah. I remember seeing because you did a video with where Sheldon was showing like the paper, right? Like
Yeah, I think I only very few people seen that because I made it into I think I made it to an Instagram story and those disappear after 24 hours. But I'm gonna upload a lot of the cool archive stuff because I had filmed a lot of it and I had my brother film a lot too. That I'll probably turn into like either YouTube short videos or something else. So if anybody ever wants to find them, like they'll be there for good. But I think I only put them in the Instagram stories and they were gone within like 24 hours.
yeah, the stories only last 24 hours, but if you put it on Instagram as a reel,
Hmm.
that one stays
Oh, I'll
that
be there forever. Sure.
yeah,
Yeah.
just like a photo.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
because I remember seeing. So now I don't remember if I saw it on Instagram or on YouTube. Now that you mentioned it, but I saw it.
Yeah, you definitely seen it on Instagram, man. Like,
Uh,
but I gotta post it on YouTube, because I know other people want to see it. But I've been so busy, like, so part of the California trip was like, I gotta see my brother and my sister-in-law, and I'm an uncle. So prior
oh,
to that trip this year, the last time I was there, like my niece was a newborn, so I couldn't really interact with her. I didn't feel like an uncle. She's like a blob. She can't talk. She almost not even, like somebody that age is almost not even like a person because you can't like interact with them.
yeah.
So when I came more recently this year, like she's 4 years old. She talks. She calls me Uncle Dave. Like we played Candyland together. So now I finally feel like a real uncle. It's really cool. So I spent about 2 weeks out there and developed such an amazing relationship.
Nice.
So I gotta go back like every, probably twice a year because not only can I visit family, obviously, my brother's like my best friend. So we train together. He's martial arts. We do weights together. But then like, cause I took him to train on one of the days with Don Wilson. Like I trained with Don multiple days, but I took my brother, one day to train with him. We all kind of like sparred together and trained
Uh,
together and had lunch together and such an amazing time.
yeah, dude. Yeah, because I think I saw a pic. It was either a picture on Instagram of you guys grabbing something to eat, right?
Yeah, I think we got these like I forget the name of that. It's like a famous Subway sandwich place, and it was incredible. And we were starving after work. Me and my brother ate the whole huge gigantic thing. I think Don was only able to eat half the sandwich and took the other half home. He didn't have the same appetite, but yeah, it was fun. It was fun just talking about Don likes to talk and he's got stories, man, about like his kickboxing fights, his movie career, so much like good stuff. If somebody just did an interview with him, he could probably talk for like 12 hours, man. Like honestly.
You know who also looks like he can talk? Michelle Kissy. At least for the interview, looks like he can talk.
Oh yeah. And it was so cool that I talked to him so much. Like we always exchanging, messages on WhatsApp. But even the interviews I did with him, it's so much detail. Like alls we got, like I put out multiple videos and alls we got was like to the end of Bloodsport. So now when we continue that interview series, we're going to talk about Cyborg, Death Warrant, Kickboxer, Lionheart, so much stuff. And that's going to be hours of content. But it was so cool to actually meet him in person in Germany. Him
Uh,
and his brother Abdel were both in Germany working on the last Kumite. So, of course, I'm working on the movie too. But to like meet them in person was really cool because I had only actually Zoomed with them prior to that.
all right, yeah. Oh, and also let's talk about the last Kumite. The very first time I ever heard about the last Kumite, it was because I subscribed a few years ago, maybe, to
Oh, Oliver Harper.
Oliver Harper. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I heard about that movie that because of him, because he said there is this project. I'm gonna be the editor or whatever. He announced it on his channel, and then he mentioned Stan Bush in the music. I was like, oh, pretty cool. And I heard about the project and all that. And then last thing I know, you interview Sean,
Mhm.
the producer, right?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yep.
you interview him on your channel. One of the very first interview that you had with him, and I was like, okay, now the Viking Samurai knows about the last Kumite. That's pretty
Mhm.
cool. And then before I know, you are in the movie, dude. So can you tell us how that happened?
Well, it's an interesting story. I can't probably give all the details yet. I'll just say I was not associated or involved with it when I interviewed Sean, but we had a really great rapport. We talked a bit afterwards. I would say I think it was fate that it ended up happening. The
Okay.
funny thing is he actually initially emailed me at the beginning of January of last year in 2022, kind of said, I'm putting together, he had the idea, like, I'm putting together this movie. It's going to have all these legends in there and like all this other stuff. And wanted to know like if I would be interested and help him promote it and everything else. And at the time, I felt it would have been a conflict of interest because I was kind of doing something similar. I don't know. I think I don't know if I told you, but I was working with the late Malcolm Golan's nephew, Gabriel, who's got like the rights to Canon Films now. And we had come up with an amazing, amazing screenplay. Not to pat myself on the back, but Sheldon Lettich, he's a guy that tells it how it is. Like if you wrote something and you show it to him and it's not good, he'll say it sucks. Like he'll just say that, like he's honest. But like, that some people, anybody who's creative, they're sensitive. So that could rub people the wrong way. So, I was telling him about the project, and I remember, because I had him sign like an NDA and all this other stuff, of course, right? Non-disclosure agreement. And he read it, and he called me like one Saturday morning. And I was a little nervous because I'm like, this guy, I idolize him in some ways because he wrote Bloodsport, because he wrote and directed Lionheart and Double Impact. Me and my brother just loved his movies, so his opinion means a lot more to me than just some random guy, like his opinion means a lot to me, especially with the kind of film, that I wrote. So basically he called me one Saturday and said, "Hey, David, I read the script." And I was like, "Oh yeah. Okay. What'd you think?" He said, "I love it. It's got great dialogue. It's structured very well. Like you hit everything like great. And I want to direct it." I was like, "Really?" I was like, that's wonderful. Obviously we don't have the financing yet. But so anyway, long story short, before going off too much on that tangent, when Sean reached out to me in January of 2022, I wasn't too interested in The Last Kumite, but I wished him well, and now I give him so much credit and respect for having actually done it. See, the thing that I'm working on, it's still a work in progress, and we've made some progress. A lot of investor meetings, got a lot of people, involved. But at the end of the day, we have not shot it yet, and we don't have all the funding. Sean made The Last Kumite, and I got nothing but respect for a guy who never produced a movie, but he put it all together, got everybody involved, and I know firsthand, being there, how good it's going to be. Like I could tell, like because not only am I there I'll tell you why I had the ultimate experience, because not only am I there living out the ultimate dream of being able to be in a martial arts film, and it's not just any martial arts film. I literally fought in the Kumite, like literally. There are so many extras and so much energy. So doing the fight scenes with Mike Muller, who is an amazing choreographer, it was just like, I can't believe I'm doing this in real life, because this isn't just just an action film or a martial arts film. This is literally a Kumite, like like I really felt. I was like, it's such a surreal experience, man, on so many levels. But again, I'm going there, experiencing that aspect, but also because like I'm just a big fan of films. I mean, I literally went to film school, and that's what I graduated with, honors in like screenwriting and editing. But that's what I did like 20 years ago. So me being on set, like I'm just soaking it all up and studying and appreciating just the filmmaking aspect, and the director Ross Clarkson, like the guy's just, it's really fun watching these guys who are very high level at what they do. Like I mentioned, Mike Muller or Ross Clarkson, the director, do what they do, because they move at such a fast pace, and sometimes they just got to improvise on the fly. But it's really fun watching them, like any expert at anything, just do their work. Is kind of entertaining in a way, right? Because you can tell these guys have been doing that stuff for like 20, 30 years. They're just like so good. And the longer you do something in general, especially if you're passionate about it, the better you're going to get. So I know for a fact that, and again, the editing and whatever Oliver Harper ends up doing with the film, which I have a lot of confidence with them, you could ruin a film, or you could even make it better than the production was through editing. I mean, editing is magical. In fact, they even call editing the the final draft, because you could even change a lot of story elements in the editing room. Right? Nice. You could, yeah. So it's really like, so Oliver is going to really put the whole thing together. Obviously, Sean's got a vision, and I'm sure he's giving a lot of insight, and we'll probably be working with Oliver. But yeah, it'll be very interesting how they basically piece it all together. But I know firsthand the magic that they caught. I seen how hard everybody was working, and in like talent, a lot of talented people, working. So it's going to be special, man. It's going to be special. But I really kind of felt, and this is an Arnold movie reference, I really kind of felt like that kid from Last Action Hero who got the magic movie ticket and got inside the Arnold movie. So like I got inside literally a movie that should have been made in the 80s. And I'm literally working with like Billy Blanks, Muhammad Kisi, Cynthia Rothrock, Kurt McKinney, Matthias Hughes, amazing guy, nicest guy in the world, but everybody's so nice. Everybody's so nice and friendly. And I was getting like, fight tips from Billy Blanks. I'm like, wow, that's so cool, man. Because I used to watch him in all those movies back in the day. And then I'm getting like acting tips from Kurt McKinney, right? Because he's been acting forever. So it was just such a special, unique experience. Like I'll cherish those memories the rest of my life. Like, and I'm going to do more films. I'm actually shooting Warrior Island, which is a show, but should be a movie that they'll do a bigger production later with next month. And then I signed on to another movie that I start at the end of August going throughout September. So, I definitely got some great momentum on my side, but regardless, whatever these projects and all these are going to be fun and special in their own way. I think you always remember like the first one. And because that was such a big deal, in my opinion, like I heard those Stan Bush songs. I heard the Paul Herzog score. Like it's phenomenal, man. So again, it's just not like I was part of a martial arts movie. I feel I was part of probably the best martial arts movie in the last 20 years. It was with all that talent involved, man. So yeah, I'm very blessed and grateful for everything that ended up happening.
Yeah, I mean, for the little that I've seen, and what I have heard in the interviews in your channel, that movie looks like a special project.
Oh, yeah.
I was watching. Was it Friday night? I was at work and I was watching. Well, I was doing my thing, but I was also listening. With with an AirPod.
Yeah, sure.
That video that you did with. It was with the producer Sean, and he was saying that how difficult it is to be a producer.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And he was saying how he was trying to find the location for the kumite, and then he found the right place, the ideal place for that, and then like how being a movie producer, in his case, like trying to solve a lot of problems every day, waking up in the morning and seeing, okay, I got
all those messages. You got to put out all those fires every day, man.
I was like, dang, that's to be.
Yeah, it's a lot of work, a lot of stress. I do believe he'll be satisfied and it'll all be worth it to him in the end, because I can't wait to see it when it comes out, man, for so many reasons. Now, of course, because I'm involved, I'm going to be self-critical of myself. So I can't really just take myself out of it as if like, hey, here's a cool ass movie, Last Kumite. Because obviously I think most actors are like, they can't just watch it and appreciate it for what it is. I mean, they can, but they're always going to be like self-critical, like, because they want to continue to improve or do whatever. So you're always going to be like, I kind of like that. Okay, I could have done that better. So you're always going to study as like an actor or performer, like regardless. Like even like, for example, someone like Michael Jordan playing basketball, they would watch game tapes. And even though he's like dominating, I'm sure he's like, he's more noticing things he could have did better. Or like a fighter watching their fight, even if they won, especially if they lost, but even if they won, they always like analyzing and studying of what could have been better. That's why they would keep improving. And I think any actor or performer who's serious would do the same thing. And that's obviously what I'm going to do with The Last Kumite, So for me, I'll enjoy the scenes more that I'm not in, but the ones that I'm in, I'm more going to be studying and analyzing than anything, than just enjoying it for the narrative story that it is.
Is this the very first movie that you were part of ever?
I would say no, but the first real one where I had like a significant role. Okay. I can't really say much, but I'm more than just a fighter in it. I'll say that. Like there's actual acting scenes, and the character plays. It's an important character. I can't really say too much, but I've worked on films like, I didn't have like a big part, or they weren't like the biggest productions, and it's not like The Last Kumite's John Wick 4 or anything, but it's a pretty big production, man. And I talked about that with Sean, like the scale of it was like, this is a big movie, and I got to give a lot of credit to the crew. The crew did a phenomenal job. So going back to what Sean said about scouting all those locations and finding the Kumite, it looks amazing, man. It was actually in Hamburg. It was in the basement of like some big club. And it was kind of funny. You could get lost in there, man, because I'll send you a picture later, but they have all these like stairways and big elevators and all this other stuff and doors and rooms. So I could only imagine like going out there and hanging out, especially if you're like a little buzzed or drunk, from drinking and hang out in the club. You get lost. Who knows what some of these rooms, there could be some crazy ass stuff because it's multiple levels underground, which funny enough, that's where the movie, even though it's a movie, that's where this illegal fight tournament takes place where people die or they can die, but it's like, that's almost like the kind of area where that kind of shit could go on, because it's secretive. It's down many layers, right? Underground. But I give the crew so much credit because we were filming some scenes there before the whole thing was made out because they were different scenes. So like, I think all they had was overnight, and this is just cool as trivia, to really dress it up and make it look like it was a different location. They did such a great job because when you got back there the next day, you're like, oh, wow, this does not look like the same place, So they literally worked all night just getting everything ready after we shot some other scenes that were supposed to take place at a different location in the movie, even though it's technically physically the same location in real life. So you just got to give, those are kind of like the unsung heroes, but you got to give a lot of credit for people that put all that together.
Nice. I remember now. Now I know where you were because I remember definitely it was on Instagram. It was either story or probably story. It was dark and you were walking like I think you were going upstairs and there were some
yeah, that was one of the staircases. Sure,
you said something like there's something behind those doors or whatever.
Yeah, I did post some fun stuff, but again, those are only there for like 24 hours. Yeah. So anybody follow Real Viking Samurai because I'm going to try to give some cool ass stuff on Warrior Island, and then this movie I'm doing in Northern California in September, and a lot of that stuff's just going to be posted in the story. So it'll be there for 24 hours, and that's it. But I like to share these like little slices of things, just share my journey because I think it's an interesting journey. Like the channel, if you think about it, the evolution is kind of incredible. Because when I started this about 3.5, maybe three years, 9 months ago, was September. Well, dang, it's coming on 4 years. But I posted my first video in late September of 2019. And all I did, and this is stuff I was always passionate about, the stuff in the background. I just talked about this stuff, right? Mm-hmm. And then over time, like I started interviewing people who created this stuff. And that's much better to get it straight from the source than me trying to find stuff online or a magazine or a book. So then the channel just evolved into like an interview channel, more or less. And then later, because I've been developing different relationships and all that other stuff, when I went to California, for example, like I could meet up with these people, and actually train with them, which was like the Don Wilson stuff. Mm-hmm. But there's so many other people I met in the channel. There's this guy, one of the highest level Krav Maga guys in the world named Royal Gagnon. They call him the Bruce Lee of Krav Maga. If you guys Google, or not Google it, but type that into YouTube, you'll see him training. He's got like, I don't know, 5 million views on a video because he's doing this crazy ass Bruce Lee Krav Maga shit. So, and he's like trying to get into some movie stuff and actually recently worked on the last film with Ray Liotta, who unfortunately passed away, but he's going to be in that film. And, we were talking about like Bollywood and India films earlier. He just choreographed like a huge movie. I forget the star's name, but they're supposed to be like some of the biggest stars in Bollywood or in India. So, he's doing film work, but anyway, long story short, like he watches a channel and he lives in Simi Valley. He literally lives down the street from my brother. So obviously I met up with him. And when I go out there next time, I'll train like, cause he's got a dojo in Canoga Park. So the channel had just like helped me meet everybody, man. Like it's been crazy. So anyway, the evolution of it, talking about this stuff and then having the people who created it talk about it and then me meeting up and training with them. And then the next step is the coolest one ever, but it just makes sense. So now I'm actually in the movies working alongside these guys. It's crazy. It's like you can't make that stuff up, but at the same token, it kind of makes sense that it would evolve that way, right? Because whatever, obviously there's a lot more work involved than just this, but in general, like whatever you talk about and think about all the time, you become, right? So I'm kind of, becoming this, like in the background.
Yeah, it's crazy. Well, I remember when I found you on YouTube, and when I subscribed, you were in the 4,000 subscribers. You were not even in the 5,000 yet. You were
it was tiny little baby channel.
Yeah. And then before now you are over 100,000, right?
Yeah, like 110. And it's crazy because some of those early videos, for example, I was talking about like Steven Seagal, like the Golden Age, those first 4 films. And
Mhm.
then like earlier this year, I was in St. Louis training with his most senior student, literally doing Tenshin Aikido. That's a really close connection, with
Yeah.
Steven Skull. Like I'm pretty sure I'll probably end up meeting him in person and training with him. Obviously, getting an interview. I'd love to do an interview in person. I'm pretty sure I could eventually get an interview on Zoom with the guy himself. But imagine doing that in person, like Jesse Inkamp did. The Karate Nerd.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
that's how much the channel would have evolved in 4 years from talking about Seagal films to getting that close where I consider me and Elliot Freeman, his most senior student, like friends. Like,
Uh-huh.
because we have multiple conversations, get along great. And I even got to train with them. And I always got an invite, like anytime I'm in St. Louis, So that's another crazy ass thing too with the channel. It's, and I don't know if I ever take advantage of this stuff, but meeting all these people around the world, like if I'm ever in Poland, I got a place to stay. If I'm ever in Vegas, I got a place to stay. St. Louis, I got a place to stay. Philadelphia, I got a place to stay. Australia, I got a place to stay. It's crazy, man. Like it's just the power of YouTube, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah, that this network that you got now, the
Yeah,
networking.
yeah.
And
The
I
network.
know it's been months ago. I think, well, it looks like months. I don't know. When you had an interview, you were interviewing this guy from Water Island.
Oh, James Jefferson. Yeah, I'm gonna meet him in person next month. Yeah.
Yeah, because I remember watching that video, and he was, because I remember in the conversation, or somebody said, "Oh, Viking Samurai should be in it or whatever." Like somebody in the comments or something.
Sure, sure.
And then, but then you're gonna be in it, or right? You're gonna be working on something and then that project.
Yeah, I am. And the funny thing is, I'm literally playing the Viking Samurai. So I'll be in the comic book. Like, I'm kind of playing myself, man. Now, obviously, the Viking Samurai on Warrior Island does not dress like in normal street clothes. It'll kind of look like like a Viking samurai on an island somewhere. So, while I'm there though, so I'm doing a dual role. I'm doing behind the scenes stuff and interviewing all these guys like Ron Van Cleef and all this other stuff. Let me tell you some funny coincidence, man. So when I was in Germany filming The Last Kumite, Ron Van Cleef's ex-wife came on set because she knows some of the people who were associated with The Last Kumite. And she had mentioned in reference, oh, I'm Ron Van Cleef's ex-wife. I was like, really? I'm meeting the guy or working with them like in August on Warrior Island. I'll tell him he said hi. So it's such a small world that's interconnected in so many ways. And I met Ron Van Cleef last year at the Arnold Schwarzenegger Classic because they had like this private ceremony. I think it's like in the basement of a Hilton or something next door, where Dr. Bob Goldman like honors all these great people, like people that got honored that year. Literally, were like Stipe Miocic, these big names. He usually honors like 5 or 6 people every year. And it was just like the craziest mix of people, like ex UFC lightweight champ who's been in the Expendables. Can I think of his name?
Oh, Couture, Randy Couture.
Yeah, Randy Couture. I met him there. Like he
Oh,
was there. I met Chef Rush, the big White House buff chef dude. Like he was there. It's just like the people who are there, and they weren't getting awarded, but they were just at the ceremony, like me watching. The other people get awarded. So it's just because it was like a private ceremony. But it's just funny, like again, like the power of the potential that like YouTube and social media could do to get you like introduced to these people where you again, the networking, man. Like, don't get me wrong, I am on the phone for hours and hours and hours, and that's something I never had when I was like living in California, going the traditional route of trying to audition for films. Like, I didn't know anybody. I sucked at networking back then, but the YouTube channel gave me all that power, because you meet one person, and again, like building a good rapport, they'll put in a good word, then they introduce you to another guy. And just in general, my channel, I've been so blessed that it's attracted so many people. Most of the interviews I get, people come to me. I'm not like out there trying to get them, like so it almost makes my job easier. But as the channel grows and they kind of see, oh, this seems like a cool, nice guy, and people who had met me like say nice things. So it's just like reputation's huge. So, I got a good reputation, get along great with everybody. They see I'm a genuine guy. And it's like that attracts people,
Yeah, I mean, as long as you can be yourself, that's
Yeah,
gonna,
sure. Yeah,
just it's gonna bring you around. You just building up your name,
sure. For sure, man.
That's
But yeah,
pretty.
it's been a wild ride so far. But I feel like it's really just started. But it's been such a wild ride over the last. I guess we're coming up, close to 4 years in September. But yeah,
Yeah, that time is definitely flying, dude.
yeah. Like I mentioned earlier, I can't believe we last spoke. At least doing the live
The 7 months.
thing like this, like 7 months ago. That's like really that long ago.
Yeah, it doesn't. It didn't seem like 7 months.
No, no,
Oh,
no.
and before, like off camera, I was telling you before we started this live streaming. I was telling you that I was just watching this video, and I asked you if you knew about this YouTuber, Napoleon Blau.
Oh, the Napoleon Bonaparte guy, sure.
And I was watching this video. I think it's one of his most recent videos about Frank Dukes, and
Mhm.
I'm watching it, and I think I'm in the probably. Let me check. Let me see how I'm into minute 23. Okay,
Okay.
uh, it's like an how long is this thing? It's an hour
It's
and
it's like an hour. I gotta watch the whole thing later. I only heard about it. I've heard about that YouTuber before, but I don't like watch all of his videos. I'm just aware of him.
mhm.
But somebody sent me yesterday, said, "Hey, he put like part of your interview clip in there."
Yeah, I
I'm
was.
like, "Cool! I gotta check this out now. That's awesome."
That's what I was gonna tell you because I'm watching it, and like I said, I'm on minute 13. Probably it's like minute 10, minute 8, something like that. And then he puts clips, and then obviously the topic is Frank Dukes, and so I'm watching it, and I'm like, okay, it's almost 3 o'clock. I got time, and I'm watching it, and then before I'm like, what you are with? It has like a screenshot of you interviewing I mean Frank Dukes, one of his students, I guess. I
Oh,
forgot.
one of the guys, Adam McKinney, that was associated with them at
Yes,
yeah.
I watched that interview. I've been watching a lot of your videos, but some of them I just watch it one time, so I'm trying to remember. But I remember watching that one, and he's showing you like the sense of Tanaka exists or something. So anyway, so Napoleon Bonaparte is using that clip. It's using maybe like 5-10 seconds,
Yeah, just a little bit of it, yeah.
where you can see your name and
Which was great exposure for me.
yeah, oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah, it's funny, dude. Like, I personally think I probably did like the best interviews with Frank Dukes, man. Like, despite what anybody thinks about him, like they were good interviews. They were fair. Let him tell the stories instead of somebody else telling him and twisting the details. Let him just say it in his own words. And I was very respectful about it. Just a nice open ear, like I am to everybody. And so they're pretty popular videos, man. Like, if anybody just typed in Frank Dukes on YouTube, I'm sure at least a few of my videos would pop up pretty early in the search results. I did some really good work with Frank, man. I'm
Yeah.
proud of that work because he was not an easy guy to agree to do an interview with. I probably put like 6 to 9 months of work in that. Had to talk to so many people associated with them, had to interview different people. Like, there's a lot of work involved, you know?
Yeah.
So, I mean, there's so much work that goes involved in YouTube. Like we kind of talked about, you're talking about like when you're gonna do your Predator video, for example, and you can put all those video clips and how much editing and thought goes into that, and then you got to write the script and talk about your 6 points and all that stuff. That's a lot of work. But what people don't realize on some of these interviews, just the amount of time that I get to know these people and set them up. Now, I've had some interviews where it's like I never even talked to the guy, just a couple emails. Okay, I'll just get to know him literally doing the interview, which is fine. But
Mhm.
sometimes, like, I really have to build a relationship or do build a relationship prior to ever having him on. Like, for example, Jeff Langton, who played Sonny in Lionheart, right? The guy that
Oh,
got
yeah,
punched in the balls. I'd probably, I plan to eventually interview him, which I did get some great interviews, but I interviewed him like after I've become friends with him, and we're talking to him on the phone a few times a month for probably like at least a year. I just got to know the guy, because a lot of this martial arts history and these, everybody almost knows everybody or they're connected to somebody else who knows somebody else. So a lot of I learned so much in that world of especially the 80s and 90s in the martial arts world. Like a lot of stuff that I have not put on the channel. It's not going to go on the channel for various reasons.
uh-huh.
But just being in, it's crazy for me because both of us are such fans of that, and knowing some of the stuff I know, but I like can't even say because these people won't even say publicly. it's quite interesting.
Yeah.
It's quite interesting.
That's funny. And yes, so this guy, that was it, that video. Yeah, the one with Frank Dukes, because he's very well known, for better or for worse, in the martial arts community.
Sure.
So, and I remember he he mentioned your name. I mean, by he I mean Frank Dukes. He mentioned your name uh, before he did the interview with you, because
Yeah, he said I lacked ethics or something like that.
there's this guy Viking samurai, and he's talking, but he didn't. I guess he heard about you, but he didn't hear, like, because you have always been very neutral,
Mhm.
with everybody.
No, I've had guests who may have issues with them, but me myself, I've been neutral. Whether
Yeah,
my guests are or not, that's another thing, you
and
know?
it seems like people like they twist, or probably Frank Dukes, he just got twisted information, because he said that, that you were talking bad about him, but you were never talking about him. You were just, you wanted to get in touch with him and stuff like that about that.
Yeah, and I've always given him credit for his contributions, because he did play a huge role in Bloodsport, Also Lionheart, he made some great contributions. Those are two beyond amazing films. And that was why I was so motivated also to get the interview, because he said, that I wasn't being fair, that I lacked ethics. I'm like, I will prove to this guy that I don't lack ethics and I'm more than fair by, giving a really good interview. But despite what he said about me before I ever met him,
Mhm.
whether it was good or bad, or in that case it was bad, I just like him like saying my name. It's like, wow, this guy's actually heard of me. That's so amazing. Like that's incredible. Even though he didn't say the best thing, it's like that's so incredible. Like again, it's great exposure. It's like the name's getting out there.
Uh,
So ideally, you'd prefer people to say nice things or good things about you. But in general, if the name gets out there, that's only a good thing.
yeah.
People are talking about you, especially on YouTube, because you need that. You need people to talk about you.
And I think, and I watched the whole interviews, especially those ones too, the Frank Dukes. And personally, like, in the interview, I see some of his points. They were valid. I mean, not everything,
Hmm.
but I found some valid points. Uh, but I mean, obviously, I don't believe the whole every single point. But I'm just saying, like, uh, uh, how how may I put it? Uh, when you interview him, right? Do you get, like, you get to ask him questions, but, like, do you believe, like, some of it, or how do you keep that your face straight, so to speak?
Well, the thing is, I just, out of respect, and I tried to explain this in a video too. Like, I'm not trying to like say set him up and say, or even necessarily challenge him or anyone else too much. Where it's like, I got you, there's no way that could happen because something like that.
Yeah.
It's more like I just treat it in general of I got an open ear. I
Mhm.
want to hear what you got to say. I'm not going to like say, yeah, of course that's real, or no, you're full of shit. Like I want to hear. I think it's fair. Like a
Mhm.
lot of people embellish stuff, especially in the martial arts world, man. Like a lot of people embellish a lot of stuff. You would not believe, well, you might actually, of how many fake grandmasters there are out there.
Oh,
Now, I'm not saying there aren't legit grandmasters, but there's a lot of fake ones out there. But I'm not like the martial arts police. There's guys like McDojo and channels like that want to expose everybody. That's fine. Let them do their thing. For me, I'm just, I like to listen to the stories. I like to try to make sense of it, but I'm not going to call them out on it.
yeah.
I may analyze it more, because the more I hear stories that somebody tells and then other stories that somebody else tells, I can start piecing things together myself. And
Mhm.
that's kind of what I provide for the audience. The audience, at the end of the day, I'm not trying to push a narrative to prove that Frank is true or false. But what I do like to give is information from both sides. Like, here's some guys that speak highly of Frank and think he's completely legit. And then here's some people who have history with him and don't think he's real at all. And then let's hear Frank himself explain stuff. So I think that's fair to the,
Yeah.
because again, I believe the audience is smart enough to figure things out from themselves if provided with enough of the data from different people's accounts. It's funny when I was doing the last Kumite in Germany, Billy Blanks was there, and we had conversations about Frank Dukes. Billy has a history with Frank Dukes.
Oh, really?
I'm going to interview Billy on the channel, so I'm just trying to figure out if I want to do it the next time I'm in California and actually do that in person with them. Hopefully he would be in town because he travels a lot doing movies, doing seminars. He was doing Taibo seminars in Germany, for example, while also shooting the movies. So he's a very busy guy, but hopefully I could do that in person. If not, I'll at least set up a Zoom meeting and, whatever he wants to say about Frank, like, he'll say. I'm not going to say what he said. I'd rather him just say it, good and bad and everything in between. But it'll be very interesting to hear what he thinks about Frank, for example, right?
Looking forward to that
video. Because the guy worked with him and trained with him, so his opinion matters. It's not just like an opinion on what he heard, more an opinion on what he's experienced, and then what he thinks based on that experience and everything else.
Is Frank Dukes willing to come back again to the channel, maybe, or possibly, or
maybe? I'm not pushing hard for it. Like I think he would be open to it. Yeah. But like he'll kind of like change his mind sometimes. Like, oh, I'll come back on, or I'm not going to come back on. In my opinion, it only makes him look better if he comes back on. If he wants to address certain things, like it's better if he does it himself. And for me, like I usually welcome everybody. So even if he didn't like me, for example, like I think I have a neutral relationship. The thing with Frank is, and a lot of people who've come in or out of his life, it's you could be on his good side or his bad side for various reasons. I'll just put it that way.
Okay.
So I at times I was on his very good side. At times I was on his very bad side. And it's not me trying to necessarily be on his good or bad side. I mean, ideally, I think everybody wants to be on somebody's good side, just because why would you want to be on someone's bad side? Yeah. But it's just, like if I'm out there training with Don Wilson, I'm sure Frank's not happy about it because, Don Wilson said some very interesting things about Frank Dukes. Mm-hmm. So if he sees me being all buddy with Don, he probably would hold that against me, And
I know I read, when I comment on your videos, I also read some of the comments.
Sure.
Some people want you to have both, right? Like you be in the middle and have them both live or whatever. Like, I don't know if that... I don't know if that would work. I don't know if that would be a good idea. I mean, it would get views.
It's really like, I just feel it's the right thing to do, even though it's not easy, because everybody likes to take sides. Yeah. And I don't have like any, well, I mean, I like these different people for different reasons, and sometimes you do build like really great rapport. Like when I was training with Don in person and eating lunch, like this was amazing. This wasn't just like, I feel like we're really developing like a real friendship there, right? Like, which again, it's the power of like YouTube and social media. It's not like some shallow thing where we're both using each other for our own sake. I feel like there's a real genuine thing there already, and can, like any relationship builds more over time. So, and again, like that's the thing. Like I used to talk to Frank on the phone all the time. Fascinating discussions, but the fact that he would see me training and hanging out with Don or like other people that aren't in the Frank Dukes camp, so to speak, like he would hold that against me, because again, people very much, like to take a side, right? I mean, that's just human nature.
Where is he?
Tribal mentality.
Do you know where Frank lives?
Well, that's another thing. So he's in Vegas right now. In fact, another guy, and here's an example of a guy who's also very neutral. And I had him interview him on the channel recently, James Brewster Thompson, the guy that Van Damme fought under the bridge in Lionheart, him and Frank Dukes are friends. Him and Frank Dukes are friends. They both live in Vegas. And James said, hey, next time you're in Vegas, hang out with me and Frank Dukes. I said, I'd love to, So, but again, like James also likes Don the Dragon Wilson. I don't know if Frank would hold that against him or not, but see, James is like, unless there's like a personal reason not to or a personal reason to dislike someone, I don't think you should. Just because somebody else doesn't like someone doesn't mean automatically, oh, okay, I like you, so you don't like him, then I don't like him. I'm not that petty, man. No, if I specifically have a reason to not like someone, then I will, but it'll be because the shit got personal. But I do understand how, like, you're friends with somebody and then they don't like someone, so it's like, enemy of my friends, my enemy type. Like, I understand that, but that's human nature. But I try to be above that as best I can. It doesn't always happen, but I think to just try to work on yourself and be a better person, you should, unless you specifically have your own reason, I don't think you should just side with somebody, and be against someone just because somebody else is. I mean, they have their own personal reasons. That's fine. That's on them. But I don't think you should really have to get involved with that,
Is there one of which of you? I'm gonna give you like two of your videos, at least the ones that come to my mind. Which ones were more controversial in the comments? Your interview with Frank Dukes, or your interview with Grandmaster? I think it was Grandmaster Moore, the Bruce Lee.
Oh yes, Vic Moore. I like Vic Moore a lot. He's a good guy. And the whole Bruce Lee, I mean, he really believes that, and I wasn't there. I can't say definitively that what he says never happened. I can't, and like, it's like, I want to believe him, but at the same time, I don't want to diminish Bruce Lee's legacy, but I just want the truth, and I respect the truth. So it would be disappointing if he's been lying to me this whole time, because again, like, that's not cool, right? Just in general. So,
because days later, you interview another
Doug Sullivan, who was there, and I was trying to get to the bottom of it. I even called up Vic live, and it's like, let's try to figure this thing out, man. And I even talked to Vic after the fact, and he's like, no, man, I'm telling you, everything I said is true. So, I respect and honor the truth and like the truth, which is why I was like, hey, I'm talking to Chuck Sullivan about various things, but if he was literally there during that demonstration, I want to know exactly what he's seen. And like, I'm asking questions like, is it possible you went to the bathroom during that demonstration? Maybe you didn't see it, like, type thing. But those were both very controversial, because people they have very strong opinions, anything related to Frank Dukes, and then very strong opinions, anything related to Bruce Lee, both good and bad. Yeah. And Vic Moore obviously he's got that Bruce Lee story out there. So I don't really know which one is more controversial, to be honest. Probably, yeah, I don't know, man, because I get a lot of flack for both, because people just think, like, if they don't know me, that I just believe everything everybody tells me, which no. But in order to find out and figure out the truth for myself, I need to hear them without just giving them all this pushback and getting them defensive. I just need to listen, and I listen over time, and I am studying to see if there's any inconsistency they've told me over the last year, for example. So there's a lot of analytical work going on, but people just see, like, the little YouTube thing. Oh, this guy's just like, he believes everything. It's like, they don't know. Like, nobody can say that. They're not in my head. They don't know what I believe or disbelieve. But again, I am putting something out there where I'm just respectfully listening. So maybe they just assume, oh, he believes everything. He's not challenging them at all.
Yeah, every now and then you're gonna find those comments on the comment section that you or whoever believe everything, and
I don't let it get to me, man. Like, sometimes they're annoying, but I know some people are just trolls and they just want to evoke a response. Some of the stuff that they say, they may not even believe. They might just like, I'm trying to get under this dude's skin,
Yeah.
But you got to have thick skin just in general. So sometimes, and I know a lot of people with YouTube channels who, like, get in those battles with the trolls. Like, for me, it's just a waste of energy. It is, like, I'm like, it's just like, nobody likes if they feel like they're disrespected in some way. But to me, it's more reflective on the person dishing out the disrespect than the person that they're giving it to. They obviously aren't happy with their own lives for various reasons, so they got to take that shit out on somebody else. A lot of the time, that's where it comes from.
Yeah. I know. Yeah. So you have I was going to ask you this, and this is a personal question, but I'm sure a lot of people in your channel would like to know. Um, and I know you are promoting this sparring or fight.
Oh, the exhibition match. Yeah, Don Wilson and Tong Po.
Yes, is that a thing, or is that like possible?
It is. I'm literally actually I got a meeting with that team at 6:00. Like I got a meeting with that team in an hour, putting it on. We got like a real legit promoter from the UK. This guy's literally he's made his money promoting fights. He's put on big boxing fights back in the day. We got a lot of really good people on the team. People have done stuff, not just like a bunch of guys with ideas talking about stuff. I'm talking about people who literally have put things like this together. So
Mhm.
I can't say too much now. I will say last Wednesday we had like a major meeting with like a I don't want to give anything away, but it's related to like a very big powerful country who
Okay.
might be interested in putting the event on there.
Oh, okay.
And it's look, the Kesey Don Wilson fight is going to be incredible, but the event is much bigger in general. That's going to be one fight of many fights on the event.
Is
But
it
it's more than just fights too. But again, I can't really give too much away like publicly. But yeah, it's a very real thing, and these are real discussions. Don's excited. Muhammad Kesey's excited. The people that I'm working on the event with are very excited. I know there's a lot of audience and fans out there that are excited,
uh,
but this thing can be quite massive. But
is
yeah, it's very real, man.
is it a boxing match or kickboxing match?
Well, this one, it would have to be kickboxing.
Okay.
So
Oh wow.
and I'll tell you why. Because Don is the 11-time world kickboxing champion, and Muhammad Kesey is best known as Tong Po, the kickboxer. So let's be honest, man. It's a gimmick fight. It's not like Muhammad Kesey's a professional kickboxer for like 30 years and is making his comeback, like Don is.
Mhm.
So that's the gimmick, and there's drama related there, and it's a proxy for the Van Dam fight. So Don always wanted the Van Dam fight. If Van Dam's not going to fight, what's the next best thing? It's going to be Muhammad Kesey and his opinion based on what he said. Like, I know Van Dam, I sparred, I moved with him. If I can do that with Don, I would know for a fact who would have actually won. It's a proxy to the Van Dam fight. Unless Van Dam fights himself, this is the closest thing we're going to get.
Mhm.
And it'll be interesting, man. So there's drama there. There's history there. That's why it matters. It's not like these guys, and I'm not saying like they dislike each other or have their own personal beef, but they have very strong feelings. Obviously, Kesey with Van Dam and Don not so much with Van Dam.
Yeah, but I don't think that Don Wilson. I mean, at least from I mean, you know him. You spend time with him. You guys train together. You
And we
guys
moved around in the ring together.
ate together.
I felt and seen him move.
So, but in the video, does he has anything against Van Damme, or is not? Is not like that. It's just like he just fine. I mean, because Van Damme had more success.
You
And
know,
movies.
Don says like he respects Van Damme and actually really likes his movies. And he'll be the first to admit Van Damme's movies are better for various reasons. Like he'll be the first to admit that.
Mhm.
So, you know, and again, like the whole challenge back in the day was Roger Corman's idea for marketing, for Blood Fist. But I don't know if I don't know if it was Van Damme or if it was Canon Films or whoever was helping marketing and promote, but
Mhm.
they did claim at one time that he was like, the middleweight kickboxing champion. So, and Van Damme, as far as we know, did competitive karate tournaments. I don't know
Yeah.
if, I mean, Muhammad said he, I guess, had one kickboxing match, right? I think that just bugged people like Don and Bill Superfoot Wallace and some other people back in the day who did literally have these titles. Like Bill Superfoot Wallace was literally the middleweight kickboxing champion. So
Mhm.
if another guy, even if that guy didn't say it, but even if the marketing department said it, they would probably have some kind of grudge against him, because and again, this is just me speaking of what I feel is that if I were in the same situation, and let's say I was in Don Wilson's shoes back in the day, I was a dominant kickboxing world champion, and obviously I'm getting movies and marketing as that. That's what I'm known as, and that's why people are watching the movies.
Mhm.
And then there's another guy who's guys are competitive by nature. I mean, Don's a kickboxing champion. He's literally, his life is competition. So if he sees like, hey, why is this guy getting more attention to me if I'm the real thing? He's not, and either he claimed to be or the marketing department claimed to be, and he's getting more attention, these bigger movies, this other stuff. It would only make sense that I would be jealous because I'm so competitive by nature. So I would, I would want to be bigger in movies. Like, why wouldn't you be? Why wouldn't you want to be, for example? So I'm not saying, again, I can't speak for Don, but if it were me, I think just being honest, like, of course I'd be jealous of Van Damme. Like, who the hell wouldn't be? Like, only because I want to be the guy in the bigger movies because I'm competitive. I mean, like Don would, I'm speaking as if I'm Don. I fight kickboxing professionally. Of course I'm competitive. Why the hell and I'm dominant in that and beating everybody. Why would I not want to beat everybody in movies and have a bigger box office? It only makes logical sense, man.
And the way I see it, I would add to what you just said. I would add, like I said, the way I see it. Let's pretend I was Don Wilson, and then I see this guy from Belgium who came to my country with broken English, and now taking those roles that I deserve or whatever.
You know what's funny though? It seems like most immigrants, non-Americans, get the best roles in the Hollywood films. Like, look how many Australians, like Mel Gibson, Hemsworth, they're getting all the good roles. Jason Statham from like the UK. It's not really the Americans, man. Outside of like Sylvester Stallone and I guess Steven Seagal, all the good roles and action stuff really came from non-Americans. I mean, you talk about like Arnold. We were talking about Arnold earlier. Like they all like guys who aren't from here.
So yeah, I mean, I don't know. I mean, Van Damme had something special going on, and he worked with him.
Absolutely, man.
I love that video that you did about how big, because some people don't know, but in that video you were talking about how big, and I remember because
how big of a deal he was. Yeah,
in the 90s, he was huge. I think whoever, I don't know who's big right now. Chalamet, the guy, or the other guy who sings. I don't know. They all dress weird, but anyway, they're like the big guys or the successful men. Like that all teenagers and younger women like right now. But Van Damme was that and more, I believe, because he was by men, he was liked by men and women.
Yeah, he had both audiences for sure, man. Both audiences.
And by men, I'm talking like straight men,
Of course, yeah. I mean, I'm pretty damn sure he had a very big, large gay fan audience too. But yes, many straight men, like he would be their man crush. Like, and that's another thing. It's very normal for like a straight guy to have a man crush because it's just like, wow, this guy is just so effing cool. I want to be like that. Whether it's Stallone or Schwarzenegger or Van Damme, like a lot of people had that as their man crush. It's like, when I grew up, like, of course I wanted to be like that. That's why I started working on doing martial arts all the time. And I love the characters that they played. It's like,
Hey, do you watch on Netflix that Arnold?
I need to, man. It's a 3-part series. I'm definitely going to watch that. I heard there's going to be one with Stallone as well, which would be amazing.
Oh, that would be awesome.
Yeah.
I watched it the other day. It's only 3 episodes. It's about an hour each. And I was like, oh man, I didn't know. Like when I started watching it, I didn't know it was only 3 episodes. And then I was like, what? Is that it? I want more.
Yeah, of course.
But it's funny because I think it's in the first episode. There is a moment when, and I was laughing. I even put it on my on one of the stories, but it's gone by now. Arnold, he was at home. He was still in Austria before coming here, and he was in the gym and all. And he had on his bed, he had posters of this great bodybuilder that he admired. And his mom started getting worried. He was like, "Why do you have naked men? You don't have any. You don't have any women in here." I was laughing, dude, when I watched that thing. I was like, "Oh yeah, guilty."
It makes sense, especially at that time.
Yeah.
Like for example, like I don't think anyone would question these days, and less people would question when we were growing up. But like at that time when bodybuilding wasn't, it was like a new novel thing. That would be weird to just have like these guys, you know. But that
Mhm.
also shows you it's just like, dude, we all need that inspiration, you know, whether he had like you know, Steve Reeves or like some other guys, you know, Van Damme and Muhammad Kisi were talking about like Bruce Lee was such a big thing for them back in the day, you know, and you could see the influence that Bruce Lee and Van Damme had.
Yeah.
Like those are really the only two guys that do all those cool like karate and kung fu noises and facial expressions. Nobody does that, you know. And some people might say it's cheesy, but it does add that little extra, you know. They're really the only two guys, in my opinion, that could pull it off and not look cheesy, right?
Mhm. Yeah.
Like a lot of the guys would look ridiculous doing that. But trust me, there's no way Van Damme didn't get the ideas watching all the Bruce Lee movies to really like with those faces and you know, he had to have got that from Bruce Lee, man.
Yeah, Bruce this is still. I mean, it's what 50 years now. Yeah, this August is gonna be 50 years. Yeah, I think he passed away in 73.
Which is crazy, but that's also it just shows you how you
Yeah.
know, big of a deal he still is now because there are so many people inspired by him who weren't even I mean, we were born well after he died, right?
Yeah.
But you know, I'm sure he was big in your life growing up because people would always use him as a reference. Bruce Lee, you know. It was just iconic with martial arts. Like even if you do a karate kick or one of your friends does, they'll say, "Oh, hey, Bruce Lee," or "You think you're Bruce Lee?" You know, like is he just the guy everyone compares to?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, by the way, next month, uh, Enter the Dragon is coming to theaters
Real okay. Wow, that's something, man.
for a 50th anniversary. Yeah,
That's
yeah.
kind of mandatory viewing, man.
Oh yeah,
Um,
I want to bring my son. I already told him. Um, I think tickets are already available. I mean, I
wow.
don't know how you theater. You might want to look it up, but
Yeah, sure, sure.
I looked it up about a month ago on AMC. AMC is gonna have it, and I haven't bought them yet, but I do wanna go because I've seen it, but I never seen it in theaters. You know?
Yeah, it's a whole different experience, you know. And if that's the 50th anniversary, that may be the last time you ever get a chance to see it in theater, you know.
And I
So
know I was disappointed. When was it? It was early this year. It was the anniversary of Conan. Is Conan the Barbarian the first one or the Destroyer? I always mix them up.
well, the Destroyer's the second one.
Okay, so the first one. The first one. The first
Mm.
one. My theater was gonna get it. In theaters, and I got excited because I saw the promotional, but then they didn't end. They ended, they didn't get it at the last minute, and an AMC theater got it, but it was too late, and I didn't. Anyway, so I haven't seen it in theaters
Yeah,
ever.
sure, man. Hey, we could talk all day, but I gotta bounce because I forgot somebody's coming over at 5
Oh yeah, yeah.
to look at some
Oh,
stuff.
dude,
So this was great conversation, man.
it's
But I
already
gotta get
five.
this there before they take off.
It's already five, dude. I did.
Yeah.
Time went by too fast. Thank you, bro, and we'll be in touch. And thank you for
Oh,
giving me.
of course, of course. Just hit me up on on Instagram, man, like usual.
Oh yeah, I will.
Oh, okay, I gotta get the door. Thanks,
Oh
man.
yeah, absolutely. Thank you, Viking Samurai.
Yep.
All right, guys. Anybody still watching either live or after the fact? Thank you for being here. And so I'm gonna be checking out the comments or questions about this video. So if there's any, let me know, and I'll make sure to answer. All right, guys. Thank you for your time, and we're gonna be seeing you pretty soon. And thank you. Have a great day.